Hi everyone, this is just a quick overview video on how to set up your own CalTopo fire map and how to use the custom overlays and also the measurement tool. And I'll work on a more detailed CalTopo guide when I have the time. I just know that there's a lot of activity in the fire areas for the creek fire today, and people want to get some information as soon as possible. So this is just be a brief overview. So the first thing that you want to do is go to the CalTopo website. That's caltopo.com. And this site will work on laptops, it'll work on desktops, iPhones, any kind of mobile device. Might look a little bit different, but it will be functional on all of them. So when you come to the main page, usually it'll ask you to accept cookie use. We'll click that. And then you want to click this Start Mapping button. So the default that you'll come to first for CalTopo will be this kind of US-wide map. And there are a couple ways that you can zoom into the area where the creek fire is. You can either click and drag over and then start kind of double clicking to zoom into this area, or you can use this search bar up at the top. And I'm going to type in Bass Lake. And then you can see we've zoomed into Bass Lake. Now we're a little too zoomed in, so I'm going to use these zoom in and out buttons here at the top, and I'm going to click the zoom out. And now I'm going to click and drag so the general area of the fire is kind of in the middle of our screen. And so now we've got a couple of options that we can change here to set up the map. This map layers toolbar should be showing over here on the right. If for some reason you come to this page and it's not showing up and you have this view, you can just click on this map layers button and it will come up, and then you can close this later if you want to have a wider view of this map. So the default when you first open caltopo.com for the base layer of the map is this map builder topo. And you can see this has a lot of topographical information, but it's not very good for orienting yourself to a specific town, maybe your street and your neighborhood. So I would recommend changing that. So you can click here, you can see there's a ton of different base maps that you can use. And I'll go over some of these more in detail in the more detailed guide that I set up later. But for now, I would suggest you use the Google Layers map. And you can see this looks like the regular Google Maps that we're all used to, and you can see main roads and towns and things, and zooming in you'll be able to see a lot more detail. So now we've set up our base map. The next thing that we want to do is add our map overlays. And this information is going to be all of the data that you're going to add to this to help you track the fire. So the first thing that you're going to want to add is this Fire Activity tab. So you're going to click here, and now you can see here is the information for the creek fire. You want to make sure that you have all satellites selected. And you can see these yellow areas, this yellow outline. This is the fire perimeter. And this is where the fire has burned. And then you can see there are these areas of red and yellow stars. So this is newer information, newer heat sensing areas of the fire. So these are technically, they call them hotspots, but they could be actual fire, they could be just smoke, they could just be an area where a satellite has detected a higher heat signature. So it's not exact. It will give you a good idea of where there has been new movement and things to look at in the fire, but this map is obviously not an exact science of where the fire is. But it does give you a good idea of where things are changing. So if we zoom into one of these hotspots, you can see this little red star is more recent than these yellow stars, and you can see there's a timestamp here, and I believe this is Mountain Daylight Time. So you can see this was the date when this was 9/16/354 Mountain Daylight Time. And you can see that these red ones are more recent if we zoom in here. One thing that this map sets up is it has a margin of error for these hotspot data. So the satellite thinks that the hotspot is about right here, but there's this circle around it that is a margin of error. So there's a possibility that it could be closer this way, it could be closer this way. So this kind of gives you a margin of error and gives you a general area for that. So if we zoom out, you can see that Right now, there are several areas, obviously to the north portion of the fire, where it's less inhabited and they have fewer personnel and resources on the fire. There's this area to the west of the fire, and then also some areas here over to the east and down towards Toll House. So these are activities, these areas where there's new activity in the fire. So the other items that you might want to add map overlays to your map includes this GOES 17 live fire detection. This has a note that it's experimental and you should use caution, but it does give you a good idea of where there had been recent fire activity. So as opposed to the fire activity tab itself, this GOES 17 is actually near real time in 5-minute intervals. So these are from satellites that make frequent passes over this area. And you can see there's red, yellow, and gray areas in these boxes. And this legend tells you if it's a red box, this means that there was some kind of activity within the last 10 minutes. And as it goes from orange to yellow to gray, that means it's older activity. So if we turn off the regular fire activity tab for right now, you can see this is showing a lot of activity to the north, some to the west here just above Whiskey Falls, over to the east, and then also, some down here near Toll House. So we're going to turn the fire activity back on and turn this off. The other thing that you might want to add as an overlay to your map is this wind plot. So this will show you wind speeds, current wind speeds, and you can see it's color coded. So this legend over here, green is about 10 miles per hour. And then to read the direction of these winds, you take a look at these lines. A good way to think about them is as sort of like a comet or an asteroid, where the direction, the head is at the front and then there's a tail, and so all of this wind here is moving to the northeast. And this wind map can help you figure out if the wind is helping push the fire outwards, or in certain cases where it's pushing the fire back into itself, which might help the slow. So you can see current wind speed, or you can also change this selection menu here and see up to 36 hours ahead as far as a forecast for wind speed. So if we select 6 hours ahead, you can see there will be a change of wind that's forecast a few hours from now. So those are some good items, map overlays to set up your initial map, and there's a lot of other detail here that I'll try to get into when I do a more detailed explanation of this map setup. The last thing that I want to talk about right now is measuring distances on this map. So for instance, on the west side of the fire near the pines, there has, well, not near the pines, but towards the lake, there has been some movement of this fire. So we're going to zoom in. And then if, let's say we want to measure the distance of these hot spots, again, might not be fire, just some kind of new heat activity that's happening here. We want to measure the distance from this hot spot over here to Road 274 on the north side of the lake. So the way we can do that is using this measure tool up here. So we're going to select measure and then go down to line and measure distance. So when we click on that, we'll see there's some explanation here of this tool. So if you click once, that does a draw, and if you double click, that will end your line. So let's say we want to know if this margin of error, this heat spot is actually all the way over here to the left. We want to know how close that is to Road 274. So we're going to click once here, and we're going to pull this over. You can see if you get to a road, Google Maps knows that that's a road, so it will highlight that for you. But we're going to pull this all the way over to Road 274, and then we're going to double click, and then this will show us the distance from the west side of that hotspot to Road 274 is 3.41 miles. And you can also use this tool to measure any distance in the map. It doesn't have to be necessarily a fire point. It can also be, distance between two roads or any other portion of the map if you want to see a distance as the crow flies, excuse me. So then, you can see the distance of the measurement here. So that's an overview of setting up your own quick CalTopo map to track this fire. One other thing I want to tell you about this map is that you can use this, you can zoom out and use this map to look at other wildfires that are happening in California. So if we zoom out a bit, unfortunately there are a lot of fires right now. If we scroll down here, you can see the Castle Fire that's south in Sequoia National Forest, and you can use all the same techniques to track these other fires. If you don't want to set up your own map and you want to just use a pre-made map, you can go to my fire page where I have maps already set up. So the URL for that is tinyurl.com/firejenna, and that will bring you to my Creek Fire information page. And if you scroll down here, the first link on my page is always a current CalTopo map with Google Maps detail. So if you click on this link, you'll see that it takes you to a map that basically looks like the map that we just set up. So that's available. There's also I will put, if there's special detail, a certain map that we've been talking about recently or Jeff Aiello has talked about in his Facebook Lives, I will include those as well. So I have a section here where I list links that he's mentioned. If you haven't seen his videos, definitely check those out. You can find him on Facebook. They're really helpful. So recently he showed a version of the CalTopo map with the Forest Service base map on it. So if you click there, you can see that as well. And that is a different map, that's just map base layer that shows you your Forest Service data, which if you're used to reading those kinds of maps can be helpful for you. So you can also just click on any of these pre-made links that we have and then just go over here and play with it and change settings as well. So that's another resource for you to use. And then if you would like to get updates to know when things have been updated, when I add a more detailed guide, you can go to my Facebook page. And there's a link on my website here on my fire page. Scroll down, it says go to my Facebook page, and that will take you to my Jenna's Workshop Facebook page. You can click the like button here, and then you will be subscribed to my updates. You'll see when I have new updates on my Facebook page and also my fire information page. So that's it for the overview. Hope everyone is staying safe, and thanks for watching. Take care.